Happy Festivus for the rest of us. We have now reached, of course, the episode where the legendary holiday, of course, originated by Frank Costanza, actually came, though, from writer Dan O'Keefe's father, Daniel O'Keefe, of course. This episode, we finally get to Festivus, which, even though there was never a specific date that the O'Keefe family specifically celebrated Festivus, it was celebrated on December 23rd in this episode. And this episode actually for real did air the week before Christmas, which of course fell right into place for sure. Got a lot of problems, all you people here, and you're all going to hear about it. All my viewers, you're going to hear about it as we talk about Festivus. So, the episode started off with everyone except for Kramer, I believe it was, at a Hanukkah party for Tim Whatley. At Tim Whatley's place. I guess the whole, Jewish joke thing kind of, got past them and everything. Of course, while they're there, they're expecting to pick up some people. I guess George had gotten Whatley some Yankee tickets for Christmas. And I forgot where he went off to check something out. Elaine, though, realizes a denim vest guy is checking her out, but she has this plan where she's just going to give someone a fake phone number, which spells out 1-800-NO-ELAINE or something like that. Jerry, though, gets distracted by a beautiful woman named Gwen, and they start talking. So Elaine has no choice but to give Denim Vest her fake phone number. So that way, he never calls her for real. So then, of course, that all goes down. Next day at Monk's, George gets a couple cards. One of them is from Tim Whatley saying a donation, for a Christmas present, a donation has been made in his name to, I forgot which children's foundation it was. Which, of course, pisses George off, because I give him Yankee tickets, and it's basically him saying giving away my gift, referring to him again as a regifter, which then gives George the idea about how he can, about giving out presents at Kruger's. He can give out like a gift of a fake charity as well, because he's going to make up for the heck of it. Which he goes through with it and calls it the Human Fund. Yeah, the Human Fund. Like, that's just like a selfish act to do, which would be just a complete, George story for sure. But, of course, with how they emphasize how Kruger's is, like, disorganized and nobody cares and it's not really the best place to work at, typically George's environment, where he can get away with just about anything. Just about, that is. So then, of course, that all happens. And then Elaine, though, runs into a problem. She, with her giving out her phone number, her fake phone number, she had this card for this one place that has this sub sandwich that she doesn't like, but she still does it just so she can get the 24 punches, just so she can get a free sub. Even though, again, she doesn't like it, but she says it's like that horrible book that you don't enjoy reading, but you still want to see how badly it ends. So she was trying to do everything she can to get that sub card back, but she realizes she accidentally gave that fake number to Denim Vest, which was on that sub card. So first she had to figure out where the place was at that she had given the fake phone number to. And then somehow give him her real phone number. But then, of course, when we get there, Kramer gets a call that a 12-year... Apparently, all this time, Kramer had a job. Strike was over, though, and he's going back to work at H&H Bagels. They were on a 12-year strike, which everybody was just shocked to see that Kramer even worked to begin with, because we've never really seen Kramer work. Until he worked for that one company in that one episode. He was mistaken for a worker, but, he didn't really work there, but, he just got captured in. Just like he got captured into getting on stage for those Tony Awards, in place of Raquel Welch. Anyways, but he goes back to work, and of course, everyone else but him seemed to have moved on to another job. So he gets hours to work at H&H Bagels at $5.35 an hour minimum wage. Man, that's cheap compared to what minimum wage is today. But But basically, he's on schedule for the holidays. Of course, also earlier on when George got the thing from Whatley, he also got a card from his dad saying Happy Festivus. To, where George was just embarrassed about it and trying to avoid it, but of course Jerry started spilling the beans, and then of course Kramer seems very intrigued by Festivus. So then he talks to Frank Costanza, and he decides that we're going to celebrate Festivus again this year, which of course drives George crazy. They even walked into the restaurant with the pole, which they added in, because originally Jerry said they were just going to carry the pole in. But then Michael Richards said, drag the pole on the ground to make it funnier, which indeed it worked. Unfortunately, though, Kramer tried to get off for Festivus, but they wouldn't let him get off. And he went back on strike again, going, no bagel, no bagel, 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 no bagel, no bagel, no bagel, no bagel, no bagel, bagel. I can't do it right. Elaine, meanwhile, though, she ran into a problem with her trying to get down her sub card. She had went to the place where she had given the number to, and ended up being a gambling place. But, of course, since they got so many calls for an Elaine Bennis, the people there were kind of hungry for Elaine, too. So, realizing that, she was in trouble, she had to basically give them another fake phone number, which ended up giving, she just got Kramer's H&H Bagels card. So she gave them the H&H Bagels card, and she went to H&H Bagels and hung out there. Unfortunately for her, Kramer had set up a thing where the one machine was going to, act up, and Elaine came out looking ugly, but she still got a hold of Denim Vest to get her card back. Unfortunately, he forgot the card, so he gave her his phone number, and she realized that he gave her a phone number of a moving company right across the street from them. So she didn't get to see the ending of the bad sub-story, as she would call it. Meanwhile, though, Jerry, of course, plans on going on a date with Gwen. But then, of course, when she shows up at the date, she does not look as beautiful as she did previously. To which George says that she is, in fact, a Two-Face. And it's true. She looks beautiful in one light. Another light, she does not look beautiful at all. Jerry tries for a while to go ahead and do this thing where they only just sat in this one booth at Monk's where she was beautiful. And finally, Gwen got sick of it and starts getting curious. She happened to run into Kramer, and then Kramer didn't recognize her, and basically said something, "Oh yeah, you're not, the woman that you're not the woman that Jerry was with at the party." And, of course, as always, Kramer somehow mistakenly, inadvertently says the wrong thing, and it leads to a disaster. And then George came up to our big Festivus celebration. George, again, went to Kruger's and gave out gifts saying that a donation's made in their name to the Human Fund. And then Kruger decides to give a $20,000 donation to the Human Fund. So, of course, Jerry tells him you better give it back to him, but, George thinking about taking it and cashing it. But then, of course, Kruger finds out the Human Fund doesn't exist. To cover up for it, George mentions about, he doesn't celebrate Christmas, he celebrates Festivus with his family. But, of course, again, as I didn't explain before, Festivus basically, people who don't like the commercialization of Christmas, and they said just talk about their problems with each other and whatnot. There's the airing of grievances and the feats of strength. And, of course, to cover up for his lie, George invites his father to Festivus. And then, of course, Elaine ends up bringing those guys that were hitting on her at the gambling place that had the 1-800-NO-ELAINE number there as well. To which one of them was, in fact, in real life, an adult porn star. So obviously that was even more, uncomfortable for Elaine too as well. But of course they come there. First off, Kruger recognizes Kramer as Dr. Von Nostrad, which of course, Kramer realized that he was doomed. And then eventually Kramer got turned off, and he ended up going to work his double shift at H&H Bagels. Because they were going to do the feats of strength on Kramer, but when Kramer walked out, they did it on George. But also, the airing of grievances that Frank Costanza let out was basically telling Kruger that his company sucks. And, of course, George got stuck with the feats of strength as well, and that's how the episode ended. Of course, also, Gwen had shown up, and she saw that Jerry was sitting with Elaine based off her conversation earlier with Kramer. She thought that Elaine was the other woman. Meanwhile, Kramer didn't realize what he was saying and trying to explain that Gwen looks different in different lights. She's beautiful in one light, not beautiful in another. So, yeah, that's the end of that. And then, of course, Kramer ends up getting fired from H&H Bagel because, he got gum in the dough, and basically, he caused enough trouble. He's like, thank goodness, and he just leaves. So Kramer officially no longer has a job. He technically did for 12 years when H&H Bagels were on strike, but now he's no longer associated with H&H Bagels. And that's the strike. And, of course, mainly focused around Festivus for the rest of us. Now, again, the holiday was created in 1986 by Dan O'Keefe's father, who invented many of the traditions later included in the Seinfeld episode, including the airing of grievances. Now, the original plan for this episode for Gwen's character, since she was a Two-Face, was to have her be played by two different women, which would have been Karen Feynman, who played her in the end, and Susan Kroll, who was going to be the ugly Gwen. But in the end, it was decided having the same role played by two different women would be too confusing for the audience. So they end up having Feynman play Gwen for both the good and the bad for her. Tracy Letts won the 2008 Pulitzer Prize for drama for his play August Osage County. And of course, wait, that really is not that interesting. Never mind, not that fact. Of course, this is the first mention of Festivus. Then Alan Salkin wrote a book, Festivus, A Holiday for the Rest of Us, about the celebration of Festivus in the real world. I also mentioned how the sleazy guy at the gambling thing was played by Colin Malone, who was a real life adult film industry star, as I mentioned before. That's basically it. But yep, good episode, of course, well known, of course, for Festivus, the well-known holiday as well. And of course, even also Ben and Jerry's even made an ice cream a flavor called Festivus as well from this. Didn't get to mention that, but yep, that was great. That was not the burp, but the episode was great. Fortunately, George got caught faking the human fund, but that's George for you. And Elaine never got her free sub. The place is awful, but that's the strike. Next up is the dealership, and can you say high five on the flip side? As yep, the next episode we then journey to a car dealership, and yeah, another Putty and Elaine breakup almost affects Jerry getting a car, which ends up getting ruined anyways because of the high five. And we see the classic of Kramer seeing how far past the E they can go on the gas gauge. What's all that about? We'll talk about that next in the dealership. So guys, once again, what were your guys' thoughts on the strike? And of course, Festivus. Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirBoy93. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.